Hi, I'm so excited for Credit Over Coffee today because I have April, the money coach. How are you?
I'm good, Jeanne. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you because I'm always asked about budgeting, money, and especially high net worth women who are still, kind of living paycheck to paycheck and not understanding. And when I
Yeah,
always see your posts and it's very motivating, makes me feel good. And that's why I wanted to have you on. So thanks for your time.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before I dive in, I do want to ask how you even started. How did you become
Um,
a money coach?
so, um, my story in personal finance was basically teaching it to myself. So, growing up, I wasn't taught about money, what to do with it, how to relate to it, anything. I would say the lessons I got about money was what not to do with it. But when I went to college and got my first job, I was making good money and I wanted more to show for my money. So I knew that I just had to start learning like what did people know about money that I didn't know? And I called them like the rock stars. Like, what do the financial rock stars know about money that I don't know? So I started reading books. At the time, podcasts weren't a thing. So it was listening to radio shows, TV shows, things like that. And I just really began to devour anything I could around personal finance. It just really became a passion. And then I became so passionate about it that I wanted those around me to learn about it as well. So I remember hosting like a little workshop in my house in my basement. I invited family and friends over, told them about it, what I was learning, and then a friend had me to come to her house and talk to her family and friends. And I just became the go-to person amongst the people I knew about finances. And so I just, kind of sat in that place. And eventually I figured that I wanted to own a business. And I thought, well, I don't want a business in personal finance because I'm okay with telling myself what to do with the money, but I don't want to tell anyone else what to do. So I kept running from it. And then eventually I surrendered and because personal finance kept coming up. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into this. So that's when I began to do my branding and build out my course and my coaching program and then begin to coach clients. So
I love it. I love it. So, okay, well, let's dive in with my first question. What does financial clarity mean to you?
I think financial clarity means having insight into your numbers so that you know exactly what position you're in financially. So I think a lot of times people feel stressed about money. They feel a lack of power, around their money because they just don't have insight. And I think insight opens up things that you wouldn't believe. So just even personally in my story, before I began to, do a budget or a spending plan on a monthly basis, my numbers were like a black hole to me. Money came in, money went out. What happened in between, I had no idea. And as a result of that, I had debt, I had minimal savings, and I felt like, I didn't really have a good grasp on my money. So once I began to get that insight, once I began to do that monthly budget, that spending plan, everything shifted like instantaneously. I realized that I had more monthly surplus than I realized. Money was just slipping through my fingers. I didn't realize it. So I began to grab onto that and, no longer let that money slip through my fingers and I began to work on financial goals. So that empowered me to begin to realize, okay, I have hold of this money now, what I want to do with it. So I set up goals around eliminating my debt and building up emergency savings and increasing my investing. So clarity, I would say, is empowerment. It empowers you to really be able to take control of your money and make it work for you. You begin to direct it and manage it and, really put it to work for you.
Yeah, I guess I mean it is true, April. Like we've never learned. No one really teaches this. And I think when you don't know, you're doing exactly that, and then if you don't look at it, putting it down or however you teach it, then
Yeah.
you are just going through the motions, right? And you get that paycheck, you're not thinking about it, you pay the major bills, and like you're saying, slip through the fingers. I totally get it, so
Absolutely.
yeah. Your millionaire money plan accelerator. Now that I was looking that up, that sounds amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more about that so everyone knows?
Yeah, so I do coaching in two primary ways. So my one-on-one coaching or my group coaching, which is the accelerator. So that's my group coaching program. It's a 3-month program where women who want financial coaching, they want a personalized money plan, but they also may want an environment where they're with like-minded individuals. So they may want to, sometimes in a group, you may be hesitant to ask a certain questions, and sometimes you
Yeah.
can learn from the questions other people ask, or even learn from some of the scenarios and situations they're going through. So that's for that, person that wants the support of a community along with the financial coaching. And then, of course, the one-on-one where people may just want that individual time devoted just to them. And, they want to be able to speak freely and openly about, their finances without anyone else in the room. And then also, I also do like the VIP day where, we can build out that plan, but we can get it done, in a day so that you can, and that's where the person that's like, okay, I don't necessarily need the coaching. I just need a plan that I can go execute. So,
Okay.
yeah, so
So
that's for
lots of
that person.
options, lots of,
Mhm.
and then people just, you give them the plan. Do they get back to you to tell you how they're doing? They reach this goal, or is that more with the group setting?
So with the coaching, yeah, so we're together through 3 months. So as we're building out your plan, you're getting to live it out, you're getting to implement it. So you get that feedback, on our biweekly coaching calls, and walking it out. And then once we're no longer coaching together, you have the option of doing like continuing support. So those financial wellness check-ins so that you stay accountable. And I think that that's the biggest thing for people is having someone they can check in with and remain accountable, or they continue to get strategy as life unfolds, different scenarios come up. So that's
Yes.
that part. And then with the VIP day, so that isn't necessarily the coaching, but we do have that check-in 30 days after. So once you've taken that plan and you're executing it, we can check in on how it's going for you, anything we need to course correct. And then also that person has the option of doing that continued check-in as well. So
Okay.
any client that has worked with me has the option of doing continued
Awesome.
support and check-ins.
And what do you feel like with high net worth like earners?
Mhm.
What do you feel like their biggest mistakes or biggest mistake? Let's just say one mistake. What do you think you keep seeing over and over?
I think their biggest thing is that they can out earn bad money management, really. So, or you can say like maybe poor money management, but I think most people focus on earning more, earning more, earning more. That really is not what it's about whatsoever. It's not about how much you earn, it's about what you do with it, how you manage it.
Mm.
So, you can earn so much, and I've seen it. I've seen clients that have incomes that are 200, 250, 300,000 or more, and they're paycheck to paycheck because they earn a lot, but they spend a lot. So
Mhm.
they don't know how to really manage, what they're earning and, maximize the use of it. And then on the other hand, I've seen like, I don't know if you've ever heard of the study of millionaires, like the top 5 professions of millionaires is teachers, accountants, managers, engineers, and lawyers. And people are surprised to see teachers on that list. And that's
Yeah,
because, again, it's not about how much you make. It's not, purely about that. It's about what you do with it and how you manage it. And I find with teachers, they're used to, and everyone on that list really, they're used to working within a system and a process. So that
mhm,
system, that process is really how you win with money, like having that plan that you execute, that tells you how to navigate, the twists and turns of life as it applies to your money. So yeah, I would say that that's the biggest thing is that they rely solely on their income and think that that high income, um, really means that they're doing well financially,
yeah.
and really that isn't the indicator of doing well financially. It's really that net worth. So what are your assets? What assets do you have? How much do you owe? What does that equation look like? Do you owe more than you earn? I mean, do you owe more than you own, or do you own more than you owe? So, just really getting a grasp on that.
Yeah. And I get it because a lot of times people, when I'm talking about credit, they're always thinking it's it's someone going through a bankruptcy or not making a lot of money. And I say, no, most of my clientele are high net worth, individuals making plenty, but it's again that same thing. If they're not paying attention, things slip through the cracks when it comes, and they're not worried about the money coming in. Sometimes, like
Mhm.
you're saying, a teacher, this makes total sense to me. They know this is how much during, this is my salary I'm getting. And then when others maybe in sales or making different or a lot of money, they're not worried. They know they'll pay that bill. So if it isn't in the, if they didn't get it, they're not thinking about it. They're not as organized. So I
And
totally,
they think, yeah, and they think I'll pay that bill until they don't, because you never know what's going to happen, how life is going to hit you. And there are people that, they feel like, oh, okay, I'll put it on the card, I'm going to pay it off. But really, that really starts to creep up on people. Like any kind of emergency can happen. If you don't have those savings to cushion you against what happens in life, then that credit card starts to become the emergency fund, or you start to put more and more on that credit card. And, you stop paying it off each month, or you start letting the interest accrue. So it's a slippery slope. And I think people need to be more aware, more mindful of, what they're doing with their money and how they're
right,
actually managing it.
right. So let me ask you, what do you think about credit versus avoiding credit? Like what's your take on that?
So, and I would say, not necessarily credit, but maybe debt.
Hmm.
So, I would personally say I'm a big proponent of not carrying debt.
Hmm.
So, I don't use credit cards. I was adamant about like even paying off my mortgage early. Like I just really wanted the full use of my income so that, I wasn't paying out payments and interest to everyone else. My money wasn't scattered. I could really hone in on it and focus it. So in terms of credit, and I mean, I know that's very anti, anti-cultural or anti, what's the mainstream. But with my clients, I do advise them, much as possible, not to rely on credit cards and credit and all of that. But if they do have it, I definitely encourage, not to carry a balance and really not to be in consumer credit. So, there are things like a mortgage and, to a degree, student loans. That's, that's a whole big thing as
Right,
well. But, there's certain things that may understand that people are going to have, people are going to have a mortgage. No one really can buy a
right.
house outright. But when you get into that consumer credit, like the credit cards, even the car loans. Like when I got radical about it, when I changed my behavior around money, the next car I bought cash. Like I saved
Hmm.
up for it. I bought a certified used car in great condition. I still
Hmm.
drive that car to this day, and but I paid for it cash.
Hmm.
So so yeah, I just say stay out of consumer debt as much as
Right,
possible, but definitely don't, regardless of what debt you have, you do have a credit card and you want to use it for the points or whatever,
right,
definitely don't carry a balance,
right,
because that's where the slippery slope happens.
right. That's
And
where I
interest
talk.
rates are way too expensive. Like,
Yeah, I'm always talking healthy credit. Having it available is a beautiful thing on your for credit score if you need that mortgage. But again, you know, keeping it in check, and having it available, but not for the emergency, just for the convenience and the perks and the rewards and the upgrades. So I didn't know your take on it. That's why I was going to ask. Now, if someone's doing, let's say they're doing financially well, but they're constantly stressed about money, do you help them with that during your coaching and during the classes? Is that something that you talk about, like the financial stresses and the
mhm.
triggers?
Yeah, and it has to do with, it can be for a variety of reasons. It has to do with your relationship with money. So, I find a lot of times it normally triggers from people's past. So people, have had people to tell them, especially sometimes with women, they've had people to tell them, oh, you're not good with money, you're not good with numbers. You make bad financial decisions, things like that. So they carry that weight. So then they have stress around money because of like the past baggage they're carrying. So that's where we start in the program. Actually, we start with dealing with their money mindset. So any kind of, money trauma they have, any kind of negative thoughts they have around money, we bring them up so that we can confront them and address them and help them to get past them.
Okay.
And that tends to be sometimes for some people can be an emotional part of the program. And they're like, I shed some tears, but it was good to face this. Because we want to rewrite their money story. We want to give them a new narrative, like a new way to think about it, a new way to behave, have a relationship with money, because it's a relationship. So we want them to have a healthier relationship. And
Yeah.
then you also have people too that, because of their past, they might be like hoarders. Like I had someone I work with, she had six figures in savings and she still was uneasy. She still was stressed about money. She felt like she could never have enough because I think, because of things she dealt with in the past, she was like, I don't want to be in a situation that I've seen others in. I don't want to be in a past situation I've been in. So it was kind of like that hoarding mentality. So there can be financial stress in that way as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I think, like you said, and I wrote it down, the continuing support. It's not just the one group setting. If you can stay connected, just having that, always that extra person to keep you motivated, keep you in check. We're always going to want to be earning. So
Mhm.
why not have someone when it comes to our money, right? We work so hard for it. Let's use it the best way possible to save it and not be just having it all over. Now, if you could go back and give yourself one money tip from when in the beginning, like what was the first one that really helped you start shifting everything?
Um, I would say, all right, I would say maybe one of the mistakes I made early on. And it's so funny because I took financial advice from like a DJ on the radio, but I didn't start investing in my work retirement plan right away, early on in my career. And it's because I heard like a DJ on the radio talking about how, investing is gambling. And, you're in your earlier part, in your younger years, you need all your money. Like you don't have money that you can set aside and invest and not, you need full use of your money. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I don't have money that I can just take and sit in some retirement account or something. So I started a little later than I would have liked to and that I wish I had because, I didn't, tap into that benefit I had. So I really advise people when they're young, when they're early, even telling your children when they get their first jobs, like to take advantage of that benefit right away. I don't care how young you are, you're never too young because compound interest is a beautiful thing. And you want that money to grow and earn and multiply for you. So, yeah, I would say that was one of the things I would tell my younger me.
Okay. But I mean, we do know you made up for it. You're doing fantastic. And I
Yes.
love seeing it. And tell everyone, April, where they can find you.
So I'm at April the Money Coach, pretty much everywhere. So Instagram, April the Money Coach. Same on LinkedIn, and also my website is aprilthemoneycoach.com. And on my website, and you'll also see on my Instagram a link. I have a free money assessment that'll help you to assess, where you are with your money right now. So I call it my Millionaire Money Assessment. So
Ooh,
it'll help you to understand where you stand financially and what steps to take next. So it's a free assessment you can take to assess yourself in the five key areas of your money, which are your goals, your spending, your budgeting, your debt, your savings, and your investment strategy. So it kind of encapsulate all those five areas and lets you check in and see where am I and then what next steps I would like to take. So you can go to aprilthemoneycoach.com/checklist and get access to it, or it's also linked in my Instagram bio as well.
awesome. We'll put the link in the show as well.
Okay.
So, because that's awesome, a free tool, and then they can connect with you. Thank you so much, April.
You're
So many
welcome.
gems you dropped. I appreciate your time and I love what you're doing. So, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me. Always great to talk to you.
Oh, ditto. Bye.
Bye.